teaching with tablets. How do I integrate tablets with effective instruction? Staying connected. Working from an iPad allows teachers access to move around the classroom throughout the entire period. One of the simplest and most effective things a new teacher can do is greet his or her students at the front door as they enter the classroom. Having an iPad in hand allows the teacher to have a device where they can actively take attendance, project a warm-up, and prepare the lesson for the day, all without being tethered to a workstation in the front of the classroom. Once the lesson is underway, having an iPad gives the teacher control to move around the room as he or she is discussing new topics. This allows for teachers to use proximity to control to redirect students and keep the class focused and on task. Perhaps the most nerve-wracking thing for some students to do is stand up in the front of the room and complete a math problem in front of the entire class. Now, with an iPad, teachers can hand the device off to different students, have the students complete the problem from the comfort of their own seat, and collaborate with others on what is right or wrong. Having a device connected to the internet allows teachers to be connected to students in real time. If a student asks a certain question, within a few clicks and swipes, the teacher can access a page in a digital textbook, an image on the internet, or a video segment to answer the question. Not only does this keep the classroom dynamic live and moving, it shows the role that information gathering plays in inquiry. In a probability unit in my classroom, students were finding general probabilities about choosing cards from a standard deck of 52. Student A posed a question about how they were supposed to know how many of each type of card was in a deck. Because this was not something I had anticipated arising during my lesson planning process, I quickly searched standard deck of cards in Google Images, found a layout of all 52 cards, and was able to project the image on the screen to assist students with their work. In the matter of seconds, I had problem-solved a scenario to assist my students, as well as show them how simple it is to find ways around their own problems. Technology can really be used to help students understand how much information they have at their fingertips to be accessed at any moment of any day. High-quality teaching framework. In their book, Frey, Fisher, and Gonzalez discuss a 4-phase model that should be common language for all educators across all content levels. They then discuss in detail how to implement technology into each phase of the framework. These 4 phases include focused instruction, guided instruction, collaborative learning, and independent learning. Throughout this presentation, I will discuss in depth what each of these 4 phases entails, how they are related to one another, as well as go in depth to discuss how technology can be implemented into the classroom throughout each of these 4 phases. Moreover, since the mathematics classroom seems to be the most difficult to figure out the best way to implement technology, I will be focusing on discussing different methods within each phase and how technology can be implemented. Focused instruction. Focused instruction involves the teacher informing the student of the learning goal and giving them goals to measure their progress. Focused instruction prepares students for the learning process. It gives them a framework for what to check for themselves to determine if they have met a learning goal or not. By stating the learning goal clearly to students, the teacher is providing students with a statement of purpose. Students now have something to reference to determine if they are learning or not. The main idea in the focused instruction phase is for the teacher to model and think aloud, verbalizing learning goals, skills, strategies, and tasks will help students be able to achieve this thought process on their own. Verbalizing learning goals, skills, strategies, and tasks will help students be able to achieve this thought process on their own whenever they reach the independent learning phase of the framework. Teachers who model and verbalize their thought process help students figure out how to problem solve, especially in the math classroom. Tablets can come in very handy when it comes to teachers modeling and verbalizing their thought processes. As a math teacher, I use my iPad to project to the smartboard every day. At the end of each lesson, I convert my notes to a PDF and upload them to my Google website. This helps students who were absent find any material that they are missing. The issue with missing math notes is that it is often very confusing and cumbersome to read and understand on your own. Using an iPad allows teachers to record and notate a digital version of the notes. It is possible for me to record myself thinking through a math problem. Now, students will have the ability to find my notes with my voice in the background, explaining to them how I thought through each step. Not only does this help students who miss class, if any student was confused by anything, they will have the ability to go back to the particular problem and listen to my thinking aloud as many times as they would like. In math classes, it is critical to understand that knowing how to think mathematically is significantly more important than memorizing algorithms. Being very clear and concise about the thought process helps to model how to tackle any math problem in the future. Moreover, not only is it useful to have recordings for students that are struggling if they missed a day, if a particular teacher is absent, it is possible for them to plan ahead, have the lesson for that day, record his or herself teaching the lesson in the background, write out each problem, use the thought process behind each problem, and have that available for each student as they go into school that day that the teacher will be absent. This ensures that the students will have something to work on, they are responsible for something, the teacher is not losing any day of instruction, and learning is still occurring in the classroom every day of the school year. Guided instruction. In guided instruction, students apply the strategies that were given by the teacher while the teacher monitors their progress and collects different formative assessment data. In focused instruction, it is easy for the teacher to ask the class if everything makes sense, and for the students to agree and say, of course it does. However, when they begin to work on their own, they can become very confused and lost in what they are doing. Frey, Fisher, and Gonzalez explain guided instruction as allowing teachers to follow students' first efforts at application, notice what they are doing, and provide feedback. In guided instruction, students are in the driver's seat, whereas in focused instruction, the teacher is. There are many different built-in social sharing and applications available on iPads to help teachers provide this feedback to students. Nearpod is an application that allows you to create presentations with interactive polls, Q&As, and quizzes. Students and teachers log into the app, and students have immediate access to these activities. They also have an interactive whiteboard feature called Draw It. This can be very useful in a math classroom. Students tend to become very nervous about sharing their work with the class. This drawing feature can allow students to complete a problem on their own, immediately have it sent to the teacher's account, and have the teacher send immediate feedback back. This can help to increase individual student participation and confidence. Nearpod collects data and allows teachers to review the analytics in real time. This is a great formative assessment technique. Perhaps my favorite formative assessment technique is the use of exit tickets. I often hand them out at the end of my lessons, having the question summarize the learning goal I set in place for that day. I have students complete the question, finish the problem, turn their paper in to one of three folders. Folder 1 being they're still struggling and confused and need more time. Folder 3 being they're confident, comfortable, ready to move on. Having individual paper exit tickets for 6 different classes, as I move and teach in 5 separate classrooms, can become very cumbersome. It's a lot of paper shuffling, it's a lot of stuff to keep track of, it's a lot of things to make copies of every single day. Now, with the implementation of the iPad and apps such as Nearpod, I can use the Draw It app, have an exit ticket on the board, have my students complete their exit ticket on the Draw It app, show their work, complete all of the math, anything that they need to do, send it to me in immediate time, I will get all of their responses. The Nearpod app will collect the data, analyze the data, allow me to see it in real time, have everything nice, neat, and tidy in one place, and it seems like a really useful piece to increase my formative assessment techniques in the near future. Collaborative learning. In collaborative learning, students discuss different ideas with others in order to further their understanding of different topics. The focus is for students to work together in small or large groups in order to provide feedback to one another to create new products with each other. Collaboration is the phase in the framework that is at the highest risk of being eliminated due to the use of iPads. Requiring students to be tuned into their own devices could, in turn, cause them to forget about the most valuable learning tool in the room, their own classmates. Remaining cognizant of this potential struggle is something that every teacher should be aware of. However, if done correctly, iPads could really enhance the idea of group work and collaboration. Applications such as Google Docs and TypeWith.me allow multiple users to see and edit a document at the same time. Teachers need to recognize that collaborative learning does not just involve talking to other students and sharing ideas. Students should also be familiar with and interact with the content. Allowing each student to have their own device where they can access a document at the same time ensures that each student has the necessary content at their fingertips at any given time. Apps such as Dropbox and the built-in AirDrop feature also allow students to share documents between one another within seconds. This can range from something as simple as one student forgot an assignment, so a friend shares the document with him or her, or something more involved, such as a group project that needs to be completed in different stages. It is imperative that teachers recognize that by implementing technology, they are not removing the collaboration and group discussions in their classroom. Students learn best from one another and by bouncing ideas from one student to the next. If a teacher can figure out how to correctly collaborate students with the use of technology, the possibilities for learning in that classroom are endless. Independent learning. By the time students reach the independent learning portion of the framework, they should be able to have a full, strong understanding of the material and skills that were discussed. Students should be able to think critically about what is going on and be able to use self-regulation and metacognition techniques to determine how much they understand or do not understand. If students are completing independent learning assignments, it is imperative that they are participating in high-level tasks. Little to no learning is taking place if you are only simply asking students to regurgitate facts that they already know. Having students research a topic, write a report, and present the topic is something that requires the students to continue learning throughout the entire process. This item could perhaps be the most difficult phase to understand how to implement into a math classroom. It is very simple to fall into the common trap of teaching a topic in math, handing students practice problems, have them regurgitate step by step the process. In order to figure out a good high-level task, research and understanding how to correctly implement the technology for this is imperative. Although you could create a project where students research different mathematicians and their discoveries, the applications of this project are little to none. A different idea could include having students find a video on their iPad that teaches them about a certain math topic that we have not gone over yet in class. Students could then create a lesson via different presentation apps on the iPad and then be required to teach the lesson to the class. Creating tasks like this could help your students to become more resourceful technology users and producers. Things to consider. Upon implementing iPads into a classroom, there are a few things to be cognizant of. Because the idea of using an iPad for teaching seems new and exciting, it is easy to surrender your own knowledge of solid teaching strategies in order to use the iPad. Using the iPad for the sake of using the iPad is not the goal. Teachers need to be prepared to find sound reasons and uses for the iPad. The main thing you want to look out for is that you are still putting the student first in the lessons. You should ask yourself if your implementation of the iPad for a particular lesson is to enhance the learning for the child, or if your implementation is just ensuring technology use and allowing sound teaching to fall by the wayside. Teachers should also be aware that it is very easy for students who are using iPads to become completely consumed with their own device. Collaborative learning is key to help differentiate instruction. Having students zoned into another individual screen can sometimes do the opposite of this. Ways that you can get around this is by having students share a single iPad for different lessons. Students spend enough time as it is using different devices. Finding ways to use a device while also enhancing collaboration is key in helping students achieve learning goals. It is also important to ask yourself questions about how technology may fit into your exact classroom. You should ask yourself questions such as, how does this piece of technology fit with the content I teach? And, how does this piece of technology fit my teaching style? You want to make sure that you are not implementing technology just for the bells and whistles. Correct implementation takes a lot of consideration, planning, and questioning. You want to ensure that you are thinking about the best possible outcome for getting the learning goals across to your students. There are many different websites out there that explain apps that are good for students, what their advantages are, what their disadvantages are, and how functional they may be. Some of these include Education Apps Review and edutopia.org and Schrock. These are all reviews done by teachers for teachers and can be extremely useful in the planning for and incorporation of technology into your classroom. In order to correctly implement technology, you have to understand that there is a significant amount of understanding and research and planning and preparation that has to go in. You need to take the time to consider every single learner that is in your classroom, what they will benefit the most from, what they won't benefit from. Am I using this iPad just for the sake of having students use them? Is there any actual learning occurring by my implementation of this certain device? If you can figure out a way around all of those different obstacles, the iPad implementation into the mathematics classroom can ensure significant learning occurs. Thank you for your time.